Well, finally, I am able to record, and let's start Season 4 with my Calgary Flames game recaps. Definitely a lot to uncover for preseason, as actually you're going to see both intros. You know what I mean? Let's start off Season 4. Hi there, it's Brett Hornby here, and welcome back to my YouTube channel, and welcome to my alternate recording setup, hence the red whiz bulb. But here we are, let's start Season 4, Episode 1 of my Calgary Flames game recaps. A lot to uncover for preseason. In fact, there is 10 games to talk about, as there was 8 preseason games and a couple of rookie games. So that's why I'm going to call this one My Calgary Flames in 6 and 4. So I'd say if you're new, welcome. And if you're returning, welcome back. As one of the things I do is recap games. And I do it usually in 6-game segments, but not to have like several preseason episodes. I pack everything in one episode. And the name is inspired from, making a prediction for playoffs, which hopefully we'll get to do that. So I call either my Calgary Flames 6 or my Calgary Flames in 4. And actually, technically, the NHL season for the 2020-21 season has started on Tuesday, October the 12th, but the Calgary Flames had a couple more days to wait in between, personally being on the road last week in Regina, Saskatchewan, to catch the Calgary Stampeders on the road, and then getting back and trying to shake off the bus leg for being on the bus ride. So it's been a while for me to make the episode. But as I'm about to bring up my notes, if you want to follow along with this Calgary sports fans journey, home of the Flames, Sigmund Roughneck Stampeders, just make sure you like, subscribe. I have all my other social links down in the description below, as well as timestamps if you want to jump to particular segments of this video or any other game recap videos that I do. And then also, when I do the editing, that's why I pause for a couple seconds before I go to the next game, the next segment, because once I pop this in the editor, I see those gaps in the way, so I know where the timestamps occur. So anyway, without further ado, that's my quick introduction to start Season 4. Hopefully, this will be under a normalish season, 82 games, play everybody, and all that wonderful stuff with fans in attendance. Yes, the Sea of Red back. The North All Canadian Division was nice last year, but let's play everybody again under normal circumstances. So let's bring on my notes, and also what's going to return this season is Stockton Heat Quick Hits. Speaking of somewhat getting back to normal, Stockton is playing in Stockton, California. So to start off with this game recap, let's do the rookie games, as there were 2 rookie games that the Calgary Flames and the Edmonton Oilers had. So I'll do this Stockton Heat's Quick Hit style. So Game 1, this happened on Saturday, September the 18th, as the Calgary Flames rookies were on the road to take on the Edmonton Oilers rookies. This was at a 6 p.m. puck drop at Rogers Place. The Edmonton Oilers beat the Calgary Flames 4-3 in the first rookie game. As I will highlight in this game, as the Calgary Flames had a 2-0 and 3-1 lead separately, but ultimately the Edmonton Oilers pulled out. The goal scorers for the Calgary Flames was Martin Pospisil, college free agent signing, in Walker Duehr and Ryan Francis were all the goal scorers. So that was Game 1, and Dustin Wolf was in net. Heard he played well, didn't find anything on the shots and saves that were for these rookie games, so that was the first game. Second game, this happened on Monday, September the 20th, as the Calgary Flames rookies and the Edmonton Oilers rookies were playing here in Calgary. This was a 6 p.m. puck drop at the Scotiabank Saddledome. The Calgary Flames won this one 4-1. Highlight the goal scorers was Martin Pospisil had 2 goals, as well as Ryan Francis and Jacob Pelche each had a goal to add up to the 4. And unfortunately for Connor Zary, 2020 first round draft pick, he got hurt and he's out week to week with lower body injuries, I know. So Connor Zary ultimately got injured, so he did not get to participate in main camp and play in any preseason games with the main group, and he's still injured as of this post. And then ultimately Dustin Wolf played in net for both games, so ultimately both the Flames and Oilers, they split their rookie games. This was all the rookies just before main camp, so that was the rookie games for section. So now let's get into the main preseason games. So let's get to the preseason. This will be game 1. First game was on Sunday, September the 26th, as the Calgary Flames were at home at the Scotiabank Stadium. That was a 7 p.m. puck drop. Keep in mind, this is at the start of preseason, where a lot of key players on both sides did not play, so you didn't see Sean Monahan, Johnny Gaudreau, or Matthew Tkachuk for the Calgary Flames, nor you didn't get to see Connor McDavid or Leon Draisaitl for the Edmonton Oilers. So actually there was no scoring in the first period. However, the Edmonton Oilers did outshoot the Calgary Flames 13-5 in the first period. It was Dan Vladar, the goalie that we acquired from the Boston Bruins in the offseason to back up Jacob Markstrom. Looked pretty well, kept Calgary in it, so still no score after the first period. Second period had all the scoring, and then it went to the Edmonton Oilers side. First it was James Hamblin who opens up the scoring at the 5-minute mark to make it 1-0 for Edmonton. And then Milan Lucic, he took a double minor penalty, and former Flame Derek Ryan on that power play made it 2-0 for Edmonton at the 6:20 mark of the second period. And Edmonton got 2 more goals late in the second period. It was Xavier Borgo, Edmonton's first round pick in the 2021 draft, just past the 14.5-minute mark, and it was Brendan Perlini, free agent signing that the Oilers got from the most recently the Washington Capitals past the 70.5-minute mark. So after the second period, it was 4-0 for Edmonton, and that's how things stood at the second period. And ultimately, that's how this game ended, because I mentioned all the scoring happened in the second period. So the first game, the Edmonton Oilers beat the Calgary Flames 4-0. Edmonton also terribly outshot the Calgary Flames 49-15 overall, so not a good start. But as I mentioned, both sides didn't dress their players. Dan Vladar, who made 24 saves and 26 shots, split duty with Adam Warner. And Adam Warner, who made 21 saves and 23 shots, as both goalies split the game. So the highlight for who stood out for the Edmonton Oilers was Derek Ryan and Xavier Borgo. Each had a goal and assist. I usually like to highlight who had multi-point games. And when the Flames didn't get any goal scorers, no one had a multi-point game. For Edmonton, it was Colton Sevier, who had 2 assists as well. Then for the goaltending story, it was Ilya Kukunolov, who made 7 saves for the Edmonton Oilers, and then it was Stuart Skinner, who did split duty and made 8 saves for Edmonton. So that was game 1 for preseason. So game 2, this happened the next night on Monday, September the 27th. As the Calgary Flames were on the road, they were taking on the Vancouver Canucks. However, this was not in Rogers Place, or Rogers Arena in Vancouver. This game actually took place in Abbotsford at the Abbotsford Centre. What's significant about that is it's the same arena that the Abbotsford Heat, when the Calgary Flames farm team were in Abbotsford, used to play there. The Vancouver Canucks farm team now plays in Abbotsford. So the Calgary Flames and Vancouver Canucks were battling in Abbotsford. So Calgary took an early penalty, which gave Vancouver an early power play, as meant to say. Now on that set power play, it was Connor Garland, one of the new players that the Vancouver Canucks acquired from the Arizona Coyotes. He scored past the 2.5-minute mark, so that was 1-0 for Vancouver at that point. Then 10 minutes later, into the first period, it was Chase Waters who made 2-0 for Vancouver, just past the 12-minute mark. And then there was JT Miller for Vancouver, made it 3-0 past the 15.5-minute mark. So Vancouver, this one, took a 3-0 lead after the first period, so things once again were not looking good for the Calgary Flames. However, in the second period, the Calgary Flames did press back and got back into this one. First, it was Dylan Dubé who scored for the Calgary Flames past the 12.5-minute mark on a power play to make it 3-1 for Vancouver at that point. And then Connor Mackey, with 41 seconds left in the second period, made it a 3-2 game for Vancouver, and that's how things stood after the second period, so things were looking a little better. Third period, it was ultimately Vancouver put it away, with Tanner Pearson scoring at the 13.5-minute mark. So Vancouver ultimately takes this one 4-2 after a slow start for the Calgary Flames. Vancouver also outshot the Calgary Flames 30-28 overall. Standing out, well, once again, there was a split duty for the goaltending for the Calgary Flames. First, it was Adam Werner who started. He made 12 saves on 15 shots, while Dan Vladar, he made 14 saves on 15 shots. Both split duty about halfway in the second period. And then who stood for the Vancouver Canucks was Oliver Ekman-Larsson, the other player that the Calgary Vancouver Canucks acquired from the Arizona Coyotes. He had 2 assists. And then Michael DiPietro, who made 26 saves for Vancouver, playing the whole game. So that was game 2 for the Calgary Flames in preseason in Abbotsford. So game 3, this happened on Wednesday, September the 29th, as the Calgary Flames went back home to take on the Seattle Kraken. This was at the Scotiabank Saddledome, 7 p.m. puck drop. First live look at the Seattle Kraken, and yes, Mark Giordano, the former captain of the Calgary Flames, actually dressed and played this game. And guess what? First period, Seattle opens up the scoring with 2 goals. First, it was Mark Giordano. How fitting. At the 3-minute mark, scores. And then it was Jaden Schwartz at the 6-minute mark. So Seattle Kraken had a 2-0 lead at that point in the first period. Then Matthew Tkachuk gets on one back for Calgary just before the 50-minute mark, and Seattle led 2-1 after the first period. Second period, the Calgary Flames did come back stronger and shut down the Seattle Kraken offense. Tying up the game was defenseman Michael Stone just before the 11.5-minute mark, and that's how things stood. After the second period, we have a 2-2 game going into the third period. Third period, things open up for both sides. First, Seattle regains the lead as Jaden Schwartz got his second of the game just past the 12.5-minute mark to make 3-2 for Seattle at that point. However, the Calgary Flames, 5 minutes later, with about 2.5 minutes to go in the third period, Michael Backlund scores to make it 3-3 at the 70.5-minute mark. So for the first time this season, I was going to say, this one needs overtime. In overtime, nothing got going for either side, so this one needs a shootout. So in the shootout, first up for the Calgary Flames being the whole team was Johnny Gaudreau, and he was stopped. First up for Seattle was Jared McCann, and he scored in the first round of the shootout. So get to the second round. Second one up for Calgary was Matthew Tkachuk, and he scored, while Mark Giordano for Seattle in the second round was stopped. So we had a tie at 1 goal apiece in the shootout. Then the third round, Justin Kirkland for Calgary was up, and he was stopped. Well, it was Jordan Eberle for Seattle. He scores in the third round of the shootout. So ultimately, Seattle takes this one 4-3 in the shootout by outshooting Calgary 2-1 in the shootout. Calgary also outshot Seattle 22-21 overall, but I only saw it was 1 shot for Calgary in overtime, so there wasn't much going on in overtime. So this one definitely needed a shootout. So who stood up for Calgary was Dan Vladar. He made 18 saves for Calgary, played the whole game. Well, it was Jaden Schwartz, led the way for the Seattle Kraken. He had 2 goals and an assist. Philip Grubauer made 9 saves on 11 shots, and he played 2 periods. Well, it's Joey Decord who made 10 saves on 11 shots, and he played the rest of the way for the Seattle Kraken. So that was Game 3 for the first look at the Seattle Kraken. So Game 4, this happened on Friday, October the 1st, as the Calgary Flames were still at home. They were taking on the Vancouver Canucks. This was a 7 p.m. puck drop for Calgary, in Calgary, I should say. First period, the Calgary Flames came up better as a team as Calgary opens up the scoring. As was Johnny Gaudreau, who made it 1-0 for the Calgary Flames past the 15-minute mark. And that's how things stood after the first period, and this is when we start seeing more of our regulars into the lineup at this point in the preseason. Second period, both sides traded goals. First, it was Michael Backlund for Calgary. Makes it 2-0 game at the 3.5-minute mark. However, Vancouver got on the board as it was Jonah Gajovic just before the 5.5-minute mark. So Calgary actually had a 2-1 lead after the second period. So going to the third period, Matthew Tkachuk scores to make it 3-1 for Calgary just before the 7-minute mark. And then at the 7:13-minute mark, let's highlight some rough stuff. As it was Eric Branson for Calgary and Zach McEwen for Vancouver fought. Ultimately, Eric Branson took an instigator and misconduct penalty on the play as well. After things settled on, ultimately is Brett Ritchie for Calgary, who puts it away in the empty net with 49 seconds left. So Calgary ultimately takes this one 4-1 to win their first game of the preseason. Calgary also outshot Vancouver 31-22 overall. Leading away for Calgary was Johnny Gaudreau and Matthew Tkachuk. Each had a goal and assist, with more regulars in the lineup. When it comes to the goaltending, Jacob Markstrom, he made 14 saves on 15 shots. He played in the first two periods. And while it was Dustin Wolf, who made 7 saves and 7 shots in the third period on the Vancouver side of the puck. It was Thatcher Demko, who made 27 saves for Vancouver. He played the whole game. So that was Game 4 in the preseason. Game 5, this happened on Saturday, October the 2nd, as the Calgary Flames were taking on the Seattle Kraken, on the road, but not at the Climate Pledge Arena, as that arena is still being finished off for the season opener. Instead, the Calgary Flames and the Seattle Kraken were playing at the ASCO Showwell Center in Kent, Washington. That was an 8 p.m. puck drop. Taking on the Seattle Kraken again. However, no Mark Giordano, so Mark Giordano did not play in this game, but Seattle did ultimately outplay Calgary in the first period, that being said. In the first period, however, it was Byron Froese who scored a late power play goal with 17 seconds left. So Calgary felt like they stole this one with a 1-0 lead after the first period. And then going to the second period, it was Calgary who added to the lead early, as was Michael Stone. Michael Stone definitely had a great camp for Calgary. Scores early in the second period at the 3-minute mark to make it 2-0 for Calgary. So despite Seattle outplaying Calgary had a 2-0 lead at that point. However, on a Connor Mackey penalty with the Calgary Flames shorthanded, Glenn Godwin actually scored a shorthanded goal on that penalty kill, this at the 8.5-minute mark, to make it 3-0 for Calgary. However, on that same penalty, Seattle did score the power play goal, as it was Vince Dunn just before the 10-minute mark. So we had a 3-1 lead for Calgary after the second period, and that's how things stood after the second period. Excuse me. Third period, Calgary added to the lead, as it was Connor Mackey who scored just past the 11-minute mark to make this one 4-1, and Calgary ultimately wins this one 4-1. But what I mentioned that Seattle outplayed Calgary for much of the game is that Seattle actually outshot Calgary 22-13 in this one. So Calgary definitely made their shots count, as I would say, against the Seattle Kraken. Leading the way for the Calgary Flames was Michael Stone and Glenn Godwin, each having a goal and assist. Dan Vladar, who was in net for the whole game, he made 21 saves. Well, it's Chris Driedger, who only made 9 saves for Seattle in this one. He played the whole game, and also to add in is that Chris Driedger, he's a former Calgary Hitman. That's one thing I'd like to throw out there as well. So that was Game 5 of preseason. Game 6, this happened on Monday, October the 4th, as the Calgary Flames were taking on the Edmonton Oilers on the road at Rogers Place at 7 p.m. First period, Calgary Flames had a strong start to the game. It opened up the scoring from some key players. First was Matthew Tkachuk just past the 11-minute mark, and Johnny Gaudreau at 18:45 of the first period. So Calgary took a 2-0 lead after the first period strong start. However, in the second period, Edmonton pressed back. However, first Calgary got a goal by Elijah Lindholm to make it 3-0 for Calgary just before the 9-minute mark. Then Edmonton scored 2 goals in a 1-minute and 12-second span in the second period. First Oilers goal came from Brendan Perlini just before the 12-minute mark to make it 3-1 for Calgary. And then Jesse Puljujarvi just past the 13-minute mark. So now we have a 3-2 game for Calgary at that point, and that's how things stood after the second period. Now Calgary leading 3-2. Third period, the Calgary Flames got into penalty trouble, and the Edmonton Oilers took advantage from key players. I think the Calgary Flames learned a lesson that the Edmonton Oilers are still going to have. One of the top power plays in the league. Why? Well, Edmonton tied it up on that power play just before the 9-minute mark from Connor McDavid. That's definitely not a good thing to have on the power play against is Connor McDavid, so make it 3-3. And then 55 seconds later, on a delay, a game penalty that Edmonton was back on the power play, and it was Leon Draisaitl who scored on that power play to make it 4-3 for Edmonton just before the 9-minute mark. After that, Calgary was not able to get the tying goal. So ultimately, Edmonton took this one 4-3 after Calgary had a 3-0 lead early in the second period. Edmonton also shot Calgary 35-29 overall, including 15-4 in the second period alone. So definitely Edmonton pressed back in the second period and got contributions from their key players that they should expect all season. So leading the way for Calgary was Matthew Tkachuk. He had a goal and 2 assists in this one, and Elias Lindholm had a goal and assist. Edmonton was led by Jesse Puljujarvi and Connor McDavid, who each had a goal and an assist each. Jacob Markstrom, who was in net for Calgary for the whole game, made 31 saves, while it was Mikko Koskinen, who was in net for the whole game for Edmonton, made 26 saves. So that was Game 6 of the preseason. So Game 7, this happened on Wednesday, October the 6th, as the Calgary Flames were wrapping up the preseason with a back-to-back with the Winnipeg Jets. This game was at the Canada Life Centre, 6 p.m. in Winnipeg. And then to open up, Winnipeg had the edge in play for the whole game and also struck first. First it was Josh Morrissey just before the 7.5 minute mark, and then Nicholas Earliers at the 13.5 minute mark. So that put Winnipeg up 2-0, and that's how things stood after the first period. Also to add in that the Winnipeg Jets also shot the Calgary Flames 17-3 in the first period. So Calgary definitely had some work to do in the second period. And in the second period, the Calgary Flames did put in a better effort and got back into this one. First, it was Glenn Godwin. He put Calgary on the board at 9:45. And then it was Andrew Mangiapane at the 11.5 minute mark. So just like that, now we have a 2-2 game, and that's how things stood after the second period. So the Jets scored 2 goals in the first period. Calgary countered with 2 goals in the second period. So before talking about the third period, a couple things to note here is before we mentioned here is that Blake Coleman, one of the players that the Calgary Flames signed a free agent frenzy from the Tampa Bay Lightning, he ultimately got into some trouble here from player safety as he boarded Jensen Harkins, and ultimately he got 2-game suspension for that, which led to missing the last preseason game and the opening game, and also took 2 misconduct penalties early in the third period. So there was some rough stuff here, and Blake Coleman, who got suspended for 2 games for the boarding incident with Jensen Harkins. Third period also started off with some rough stuff between Rasmus Anderson and Britt Ritchie for Calgary, and then Christian Villesen for Winnipeg. So maybe that was all stemmed from that incident early in the second period. The game stayed 2-2 until past the 9-minute mark, as was Nicholas Ehlers, who scored for Winnipeg in second of the game, to make it 3-2 on the power play. Calgary still had a half a period to go to get the tying goal, and it looked like Michael Backlund actually tied it up for the Calgary Flames in the final minutes, but ultimately was waved off due to a high sticking. So the stick was too high when Michael Backlund deflected it. So ultimately the Winnipeg Jets, they took this one 3-2 and also outshot the Calgary Flames 40-18 in the process. So leading the way for the Winnipeg Jets was Nicholas Ehlers, who had 2 goals for the Winnipeg Jets. Goaltending story, well, Dan Vladar, he made 37 saves for Calgary, played the whole game, while it was Connor Hellebuyck, he made 16 saves for the Winnipeg Jets. So that was Game 7 for the preseason. So the 8th and final game for preseason, this was on Friday, October 8th. I was on the road that day, going to Regina. This game was in Calgary at the Scotiabank Stadium, 7 p.m. puck drop, final preseason game before the regular season. Calgary opened up the scoring very quickly, as was Andrew Mangiapane, literally 40 seconds into the first period, made it 1-0 for Calgary. And then Calgary made it 2-0 past the 13-minute mark, as it was Sean Monahan who scored. So that's how things stood after the first period. It was a 2-0 game for the Calgary Flames. Both Calgary Flames goals came also on the power play, so Winnipeg practically took a penalty right away that eventually led to Andrew Mangiapane's first goal. Second period, there was no score in the report, so it remained 2-0 for the Calgary Flames. Third period, both teams traded goals. First, Winnipeg got on the board at the 7.5 minute mark. It was Logan Stanley who scored to make it 2-1 for Calgary at that point in the game. And then 1:16 later, Calgary reclaimed their 2-goal lead on a goal by Elias Lindholm to make it 3-1 at that point. And ultimately, the Calgary Flames won this one 3-1 to wrap up preseason with a 3-1 win. Calgary was led by Rasmus Anderson, who actually had 3 assists, so he factored in all 3 goals for the Calgary Flames, and it was Johnny Gaudreau who also chipped in with 2 assists, and then Elias Lindholm had a goal and assist. Goaltending story was Jacob Markstrom, who was in net for Calgary, made 22 saves. Well, it was Connor Hellebuyck. He made 20 saves for Winnipeg. So ultimately, the Calgary Flames went 3-4-1 in preseason. This is the part of the video that usually I would go over stats and standings. But with this being preseason, and I actually got to dig to find some stats, and usually it leads me to ESPN. Because sometimes the NHL doesn't really show the stats, preseason stats. But I know that Matthew Tkachuk led the way in scoring. He had 7 points in 7 games in the preseason with 4 goals. But this is just preseason, so let's bypass that. So returning this season is Stockton Heat Quick Hits, I meant to say. So let's bring that one. So for the Stockton Heat Quick Hits, well, they also had a couple preseason games, or scheduled preseason games, as I would say. As the Stockton Heat were scheduled to have 2 games, as they were going to have a back-to-back with the Bakersfield Condors. The Bakersfield Condors is the Edmonton Oilers farm team. So the first game that the Stockton Heat and the Bakersfield Condors had played was on Friday, October 8th, as the Stockton Heat were on the road to take on the Bakersfield Condor at the Bakefield's Mechanics Bank Arena, 7 p.m. puck drop. Stockton won this game 3-0. It was Emilio Pettersson who had a goal and assist, and it was Dustin Wolf that made 34 saves for Stockton in the shutout. And the key word, as I said, it was scheduled preseason games, because the second preseason game that was scheduled between the Stockton Heat and the Bakersfield Condors would have been on Sunday, October the 10th, as it would have been at the Stockton Arena, 6 p.m. puck drop. However, that game got cancelled because of ice issues. So only the Stockton Heat got 1 preseason game in against the Bakersfield Condors, and they shut out the Bakersfield Condors, the Edmonton Oilers farm team. So now, this will be the part of the episode where we'll take a look ahead to the Calgary Flames' first 6 games of the regular season to start off the 2021-22 regular season, and then we'll look ahead at a couple of Stockton Heat games that I'll capture for quick hits for the next episode, which I'll recap games 1 to 6 for the Calgary Flames to start off the 2021-22 regular season. So game 1, the Calgary Flames start the regular season on Saturday, October the 16th, as the Calgary Flames will be on the road to take on the Edmonton Oilers at Rogers Place, 8 p.m. puck drop on Hockey Night in Canada. So game 2, this will be the Calgary Flames home opener on Monday, October 18th, as the Calgary Flames will be hosting the Anaheim Ducks. That'll be a 7:30 p.m. puck drop at the Scotiabank Saddledome. And then the Calgary Flames go on a road trip out east right away in October. As game 3, this will be on Thursday, October the 21st, as the Calgary Flames will be on the road, as they will be in Detroit to take on the Detroit Red Wings, Little Caesars Arena at 5:30 p.m. puck drop. All times I give are in Mountain Time, by the way, so it depends on where you're watching this from. Do the time conversion if you're watching this out of Calgary, or outside of Calgary, as I meant to say. So game 4 will be on Saturday, October the 23rd, as we'll have some afternoon delight, as the Calgary Flames will be taking on the Washington Capitals in Washington. This will be at the Capital One Arena. It'll be a 2:30 puck drop. And then game 5 on Monday, October 25th. This is definitely one arena I want to go catch a game at, as the Calgary Flames will be taking on the New York Rangers on the road at Madison Square Garden. That'll be a 5 p.m. puck drop. And then Game 6, which will be in the next episode, will be on Thursday, October the 26th, as the Calgary Flames will be taking on the New Jersey Devils on the road. That'll be at the Prudential Center at 5 p.m. So those will be the games I'll talk about in the next episode. So that's roughly when the next episode will be. And then for the Stockton Heat, I got them 4 games in that same time range as the Stockton Heat. Game 1, their first game will be on Friday, October the 15th, as the Stockton Heat will be taking on the Tucson Roadrunners, which I believe is the Arizona Coyotes. For our team at the Stockton Arena, that'll be an 8 p.m. puck drop. And then Game 2 will be on Saturday, October the 16th, as the Stockton Heat will be taking on the Tucson Roadrunners again in Stockton. That will be 7 p.m. puck drop at Stockton Arena. And then Game 3 for the Stockton Heat will be on Friday, October 22nd, as the Stockton Heat will be on the road to take on the San Diego Gulls, which I'll confirm when I make my notes, but I believe the San Diego Gulls are the Anaheim Ducks farm team. This will be at the Pechanga Arena, 8 p.m. puck drop. And then Game 4 will have an AHL Battle of Alberta on Saturday, October 23rd, as the Stockton Heat will be at the Bakerfield Condors at the Mechanics Bank Arena. That'll be an 8 p.m. puck drop. So that's the look ahead, and those are the games that I'll talk about in the next episode. So that is preseason for the Calgary Flames, as they definitely had some moments in preseason. A couple players stood out, which in a separate video I'll talk about the rosters, both of the Calgary Flames and the Stockton Heat. But all I can say is what I've taken out from preseason is I liked how Dan Vladar played, as I think maybe we found a backup who can spell off Jacob Markstrom, because he's not going to play all 82 games. Our top players we don't know. I definitely liked how Glenn Godwin played. Walker Durer looked good for a college free agent signing. And then Michael Stone and Oliver Shillington stepped up. However, I still got to question the signings of, Eric Branson, for example, and these fourth line players that Bree brought in. This is more to suit Daryl Sutter's play. So that's definitely my Calgary Flames game recap, looking at preseason in 2021. At least we had a preseason. It starts in October, on time. Let's hope for all 82 games to happen. Nobody gets sick with and the Sea of Red will be back and jumping. So anyway, as I like to say, if you want to follow along with this Calgary sports fan's journey, home the Flames hitting Roughnecks and Stampeders, just make sure you hit like, subscribe. I mostly do talk Calgary sports on my YouTube channel, like recapping games, stories, and for example, this is recapping games preseason for the Calgary Flames. I also do a variety of non-sports content, like personal vlogs, attempt to comedy, and I do share experiences on the road or spoiler. Let's say, for example, last weekend, I was on the road in Regina, Saskatchewan to watch the Calgary Stampeders play in Regina at Mosaic Stadium. And I do have some vlogging on the go, which I've been on and off with that. Excuse me. So if it all sounds like be interested to watch, to follow along with this Calgary sports fans journey, you know what you do, just make sure you like, subscribe. I also have a second channel in Brett Hornby Shorts, where I use that channel to put my YouTube shorts on there. For example, I did post-game recaps so far this season for the Calgary Stampeders. I have decided that I'll do a post-game short for Calgary Flames games, starting with their first game against the Edmonton Oilers. It's just got to keep in mind that, considering where some of these games are played, I won't be able to make it right away, but I plan to do a short for every Calgary Flames game in the regular season. Same style I did for the Calgary Stampeders up to this point. So it's Brett Hornby Shorts, so you can check that out. Hopefully there'll be more AG games. There'll be playoff games, and eventually win the Stanley Cup. May it be our dream. So I was going to say, go Flames go. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.